time for Media Watch with Emma James.
Hi there.
Emma, you're obsessed with dancing heads of state. Well, I am anyway. I think we all enjoy looking at them trying
Absolutely.
to
It's
dance.
nice to see them kind of shake off their stiff in a suit kind of image. And certainly the Francophonie summit seems to have been not only the chance to share cultures, but a chance to share some dance moves. Take a look at these images. The French president joining in with some gusto, I think it's fair to say, to a traditional Armenian dance. Many joining in. Interestingly, though, the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who isn't averse to a bit of dancing, appeared quite reluctant to join in and then seemed to bail out quite quickly. We've seen him do a lot of Bhangra dancing, and maybe he just isn't that comfortable if he doesn't know the steps. But
so that's Trudeau.
That's Trudeau in the grey suit.
in the scene here, no?
He's there somewhere lurking. He's in the blue suit. There we go.
Oh, there he is, from behind.
Well, you'll see him more clearly in a moment, because as is always the case these days, the best images were actually captured on mobile phones.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Bruno, yes, indeed. Bruno Fuchs tweeted out a short video from the same gathering, if we can switch to that, because that actually captures Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron in all of their glory, joining in with a few heads of state. It's thinned out a little there, but they're still going. Apparently the song that they're dancing to is called Barbecue is a Good Dish. I haven't been able to verify that, but I have seen that claimed
It
online.
often is, not always.
Indeed, yes, indeed. So yes, certainly things going very swimmingly there. And of course, he's following in the high heels of the Rwandan Foreign Minister, Louise Mushikiwabo, who took to the stage.
Gave it socks yesterday.
Absolutely, she really did. She was very good. The Express News saying she thrilled Yerevan with the Rwandan traditional dance that she took part in.
Yeah.
Now, back home here in France, not everyone was that impressed with Emmanuel Macron taking to the dance floor. This woman obviously unhappy that he's enjoying himself when he should be doing the cabinet reshuffle, she thinks. A little bit
Back
like,
to work, no time for dancing.
She wondered if this was a little bit like a rain dance, calling on the gods to find a new government. I think that's possibly a little harsh.
He wouldn't participate in a rain dance to get rid of himself, probably.
Indeed. Now, Emmanuel Macron spoke to France 24 earlier today, in which he explained that his reshuffle is not going to happen anytime too soon, because he says these things have to be done calmly, methodically. I do them in a professional way. And I don't think him joining in with a bit of dancing is really going to make much of an impact on his decision-making.
No, indeed. But France waiting for that news for almost 2 weeks now since Gérard Collomb, the Interior Minister, resigned. A bit of an upset for the French government. Now, there's been another royal wedding in the UK. How many more can there be? But not everyone is toasting the happy couple. Why not?
No, they do say you can have too much of a good thing, and perhaps with its second royal wedding of the year, the UK's had enough. There wasn't much hot anticipation for this one.
Tough act to follow.
Exactly. It was the wedding of Princess Eugenie, who is the Queen's granddaughter, 9th in line to the throne. So not the most high profile of royals. She was marrying a gentleman by the name of Jack Brooksbank, who I've seen described as both a wine merchant and brand ambassador for George Clooney's tequila, interestingly. George Clooney wasn't there. He was there at Harry and Meghan's nuptials, you will remember, but he was a notable absentee for this particular one.
Maybe he was royal weddinged out.
Maybe he was, like many other people, it would appear. The Guardian reporting on this one saying that Windsor welcomes Princess Eugenie because it was the same venue for a royal wedding redux, which is kind of a reworking, basically. So, yes, same venue, less high profile, but just as lavish, they say. And what is interesting to note is they actually had 250 more guests than Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan had 600. It was 850 for Princess Eugenie. Far fewer people out on the streets than we saw back in May, it has to be said, although there were some supporters, including this gentleman, clearly a very big royal fan.
Looking for any excuse to get the outfit out.
Absolutely. But a lot of people very unhappy that taxpayers' money was going to be spent on the wedding of someone who's a minor royal and not a working royal.
It is curious that they had more guests, despite the fact that she's further down the line. So maybe they felt the media attention would be lesser, so they could kind of, you know, do as they pleased. Perhaps, or didn't have to be.
I'm not quite sure the reasoning. But certainly a lot of people taking to Twitter complaining about the use of public money for this. This gentleman saying that I hope she's having a nice time knowing that millions of pounds of taxpayers' money is being used for her special day while school children go hungry and rough sleepers are dying on the streets. He won't get an invite to my wedding, that's for sure, if that's his attitude. It is interesting to note as well that the rough sleepers on the streets of Windsor were shipped out once again to get out of the way so as not to spoil the images of the open-top carriage drive through Windsor, which is what actually cost the taxpayers money.
The protection aspect.
Exactly,
security aspect, yeah.
Because the wedding itself was being paid for by the families. It is the fact that they had to have policing, stewarding, road closures, that will cost upwards of £2 million. The New York Times seems to think that the British are being a bit miserly, really, saying the Britons gripe about the tax bill. Perhaps they just like the royal wedding, I don't know. But it's interesting to note that a lot of people didn't intend to watch this at all. A recent survey said 61% definitely won't, 23% probably won't. Only 2% said they definitely would watch it. And it's also important to note that the BBC, the main sort of iconic broadcaster of the United Kingdom, chose not to cover this, which is very, very unusual. They did, of course, cover it on their news channel, as you would expect, but there was a bit of a problem there. There were a few unfortunate mishaps during the day. This was one of them. Either the subtitles machine is broken or BBC News are getting rather personal about Princess Eugenie. What
a beautiful breasts, absolutely fitting her.
Yes.
What is that? Is that a subtitle?
It should have been what a beautiful dress, absolutely fitting her.
Was it autocorrect?
They use a voice recognition system. It's got them in trouble in the past. This is a particularly unfortunate one.
They can maybe get out of this because we're viewing her from behind, so...
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting you mentioned the fact that we're viewing her from behind because on a much more positive note, a lot of people applauding her for the fact that she chose a dress that actually showed off the scar that she had from her scoliosis surgery. It was corrected when she was just 12 years old. She wanted to show people it's OK to have your imperfections.
I like it. That's a nice touch. Thanks very much, Emma James. We'll be back after a short break.